I call it housekeeping. Okay, got it. I call it housekeeping. Other people call it paying the bills. So I want to encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are currently streaming live on Facebook as well. So I'd like to encourage you to go onto our Facebook and put some of your questions there. I'd like to encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's called My Biggest Blunders. I'd like to also encourage you to share the Facebook live stream on your walls. Okay, got it. I keep on getting these messages that then, you know, disturb me for a little bit. We are on all our socials. We're on YouTube. Our YouTube channel is called My Biggest Blunders, Failing Forward. Please subscribe, please like, please share it with your networks. Our Twitter hashtag is My Biggest Blunder, and please follow Laura at Laura Center on Twitter. And today we've got an amazing lineup. Our agenda is power-packed with incredibly amazing women. We've got Kedibone Tsiloane, we've got Itumeleng Matabane, who's a singer-songwriter. We also have Tebogo Mosito. I'm going to go into their introductions properly when their time comes. But I am assuring you, I'm guaranteeing you that we are going to have a power-packed session today. These women are gems that we never get to hear about, but they're so amazing and incredible that you're going to thank yourself for joining us today. So all our talks are available on My Biggest Blunders YouTube channel. I think we've got 2 talks already, if I'm not mistaken, that we've already done. And you are encouraged to also put your questions and your comments on the chat, on the Zoom. You're also encouraged to put your questions and your comments on Facebook, and we should be able to then take some of your questions during the interview session that I'm going to then have with the amazing ladies that we have today. So jumping right in, first up is Kedibone Tsiloane. Okay. Kedibone Tsiloane of Ramtsilo Projects. She and her sister Kekeletso Tsiloane started Ramtsilo business in 2013. They both share a background in construction and a passion in recycling, something that you'd never hear put together, construction and recycling, which then led them to start a real-world solution to plastic waste that combines both recycling and construction, which then resulted in brick manufacturing. So without further ado, we're going to hear one of their biggest blunders in a recorded video that will play after this. Is the video ready? Is the video ready? We've got 15 minutes.
When I started this business, and we would go to his construction business every school holiday, and somehow I would always gravitate towards the office, and my sister would go into the construction site and she would watch the building go from ground up. And this went on for years. Initially, we thought it was punishment because every time kids go and play during school holidays, we would get shipped to the other side of Free State, which is where we're from. And we'd have to stay there on site and see how things work. And we did not realize what was being cultivated in us as young women. And today, to be manufacturers of a plastic brick, yes, I said it, a plastic brick, a brick made from hard plastic, sand, and other additives that ensure that it's strong, durable, and fire resistant. Now, when we were growing up, my dad saw the interest that we had in the construction business, and in 2013, he registered a business for us. However, we're still very young, so we didn't really understand what business was about, and he ran the business for us up until 2016, when we then started joining the projects a bit more and trying to understand the business side of the business. I have a finance background and my sister has an engineering background. So I never imagined that one day I'd trade in my high heels and corporate office for the site in safety boots and manufacturing of bricks. So in our business, we manufacture traditional cement bricks. Because we wanted something that was different and innovative, we went on to look for a problem that we could solve. And we found one undeniable problem, which is plastic pollution. And this is how we went into the prototyping of the manufacturing of the plastic brick. Now, as you can imagine, it's something that nobody could think of just waking up and making a plastic brick. It took months, up to a year of prototyping. And by late 2017, early 2017 rather, we had a product that we were comfortable with. And we took this product for tasting. Now I get into how we got it wrong. What we did was we rushed our process. We didn't take the time to understand that there's something called a business life cycle. We went from idea phase and we shot all the way to growth. And the disaster that was there was waiting for us. It was cooking, and by the time it got out of the pot, it was hot. So we, in 2017, late 2017, decided we've got a product, we took it for testing, it performed very well. We've got prototype products. I think that word is very important. You need to remember it throughout my story. We had these prototypes that we then decided we're comfortable to go into the market because, you know what, we figured this thing out. So we rushed the process, we forgot the key element of business, which is patience. So when we went in 2018, we started discovering something called exhibitions where you could market your product. And there's one exhibition which is the biggest construction exhibition in Africa. And we decided, let's sign up for this, we're ready. And we paid money and we got a booth. When we arrived at the exhibition site, we were not prepared at what we found. We could not believe what we were seeing. We had big multinational companies that had booths. We had companies that we dreamed our company could one day become that had booths. So we had 10 times the size our business. We were there. And funny enough, we had all these big companies surrounding us and we were in the center of it. And we had a very small booth because it was dependent on budget. The exhibition was for 3 days. So on the first day when we arrived, all we had was a tablecloth and our prototypes. And I remember my sister and I walking into Nasrec Center, which is the biggest exhibition site in South Africa. And when we walked in, you're intimidated by the time you walk in because you see all these big stands that have all these fancy things and corporate gifts and everything else that's there to market their business. We did not even have pamphlets when we arrived because we did not know the scale of exhibition that will be taking place. So when we got there to our little stand, we put our bricks there, we put our tablecloth, and we had 2 chairs and a small table. And the first day was a disaster, as you can imagine. We had companies that had the biggest attractions, and we had individuals that would just walk past. And this is an investment that we made, quite a big investment financially, especially for a small company. And sitting there and we're intimidated. You see people just look at the name of the company and they just see bricks. And for them, it's, I know what a brick is. I don't need to see this. So they'll literally come from stand X, which has these big, interesting things, and walk right past us to stand Y. And stand Y also has all these interesting things. So this was probably for like a good 4 hours, half a day. We're sitting and we're watching this happen. And one of the things that we did not realize we were going through, besides the intimidation, was we had so much self-doubt and so little knowledge of our product that we did not realize what we had on our table. We did not realize the value that we had created just by making this product and coming here today. So when we're sitting there at around after lunch, now we've had our lunch and we're sitting there and we're figuring out what are we going to do for the next 2.5 days. And we sat and said, and my sister says to me, you know, we spent money to be here and we have to get a value out of it. And we then came up with a very, very good strategy that we use till today. Regardless of the size of our stand, we will stand outside and then we will stand closer to the next stand so that when the next exhibitor walks from stand Y, which has all these interesting things and is blown away, before they even see this underwhelming stand, we're already saying, hi, do you want to see my plastic brick? And you already have it in your hand because they're going to be shocked. And that was the biggest attraction. And for us, that feeling of excitement, that feeling of overcoming was what then helped us, because we then said to ourselves, you know what, this is a place where we've put ourselves in. We did not realize that there is various stages to a business. We did not realize that when you put yourself out there, people will respond to what they see before they even respond to what they hear. And we did not understand that in business. Until today is what we see, because before we even talk to anyone, they say, oh wow, the plastic break. And it's because of what they have seen before they even hear what we have to say. So all those feelings that we had at the time, all that fear, all that intimidation, we took that in and we said, how do we use this to turn it into a positive? And during these 3 days, I want to tell you, that was probably one of the smallest challenges we faced out of those 3 days. Because guess what? If you're at the biggest expo in Africa, you're bound to meet experts. You're bound to meet property developers. You're bound to meet brick manufacturers. So there were questions and criticism that was being raised. And I remember there was a time we were both sitting and we felt like maybe we made a mistake getting into this business, because we both don't know about it. We just know that you need to lay bricks in order to build a structure. You need to manufacture, but we don't really know what goes into the product itself, the standards, the requirements. And when somebody comes to the stand and he says to me, show me your accreditation, show me your R value, show me all these things that we had never heard of until that day. So those 3 days of putting ourselves out there actually brought us so much anxiety that we got to a point where we thought maybe this is not the route we should be taking. Maybe this is not what we should be doing for the growth of our business. And at that time, my sister and I, we feed off each other very well. We've got different personalities, different energies, and even in the business, she's got the technical background, I've got the financial and business background, and we feed off each other. So when we're sitting there, we sit together, we look at what's happening around us, we look at the criticism. We're getting criticism even on pricing because we had not gone through the right business stages. So we did not even know how to price the product properly. So we're looking at where we come from, this is how much this costs. You come from the Free State, now you're in Gauteng, there's a different market altogether. We had not done any of those assessments. So when we were talking to prospective clients who were really interested in the product, now we'd captivated them with the plastic brick. When they want more information, there's even deeper holes. Now there's anxiety, there's even anger that you're feeling because you're thinking you have overcome this downfall, something that looked like a downfall, and then there's multiple others all in 3 days. I remember when we left that exhibition, my sister and I were exhausted. We were confused. We didn't really know what the way forward is. Yes, we had a lot of people coming to the stand. We drew a lot of interest. We drew a lot of potential business, which actually realized into business later. But at that moment when we're sitting there, we felt like we have probably taken the wrong turn. We need to stop. We need to literally switch this off, disconnect the electricity and go home. The party's done. And when we were looking at how much money we'd put in from idea phase in cultivating this idea and prototyping to trying to market this product to get to the customers, we had so many mistakes that we made, and the main mistake was just us not wanting to understand the business cycle or not taking the time to understand the business cycle, because a lot of businesses end up failing because we grow too quickly or too slowly, or we just don't grow at all because we don't understand where the business is in terms of the cycle. So we literally shot up. We didn't even get to startup phase, because when we were talking to some customers, believe it or not, somebody would say, I want 10,000 bricks. That time we can't even make 10 bricks. We literally have that few prototypes that we have, and now we're talking to somebody who's a property developer wanting X number of bricks, and you don't also want to look like you're a fraud or you're lying. So you sit there and you think to yourself, how am I going to do this? How am I going to market this product properly, appropriately? And to where we then had to sit down and be true to ourselves in terms of where in the stages of growth are we, and where do we want to find ourselves in the future. And this is how we then got to identify what lessons we've learned from where we came from and what that initial situation taught us. Some of the lessons learned are key to us, and we apply them till today. I'd like to share 3 of the top lessons that we have learned. The first one being business cycle. I know I've said this quite a bit, but it's actually very important, because by understanding where in the business cycle you are, you're able to market your business properly, you're able to communicate properly, and understand what you need to do in order to get it to the phase where you want it to be. So with us, we shot up from idea phase and we went straight to growth, which was our biggest mistake. Hence, we exposed ourselves a little too quickly. Yes, there was a positive to it in the lessons learned, in the applications that we went forth after the exhibition. However, because we did not have an understanding of where we were in our growth cycle, we then were communicating to a client as if we're at growth phase, but we're actually at startup. So when we had customers asking for 10,000 bricks and we knew that we can only make 10, we had to have a conversation with the customer to say, this is where we are in our business cycle. Yes, the conversation was not on page 10 of textbook, whatever. It was an honest conversation with the customer to say, look, this is how we came about. This is where we are and this is where we want to go. So the customer actually was able to hold our hand and grow with us. And that is how, with the 500 units every day that we manufactured, we could store for him, patiently waiting, because he understood where in the cycle we were. So that is the importance of understanding yourself. And it goes with the saying of, in order for you to present yourself to the world, you need to know who you are. In order for you to present your business, it's important that you understand who the business is or what the business is and where it is at a particular time. The second lesson, which is also very important personally and business-wise, is patience. When we finally had that product that we tested and the results were remarkable compared to the traditional products that we knew, we were very impatient because we wanted to get to market. We wanted to get there. We wanted to arrive. We wanted to see the product in the shelves of the biggest hardware stores without us being patient, without us understanding where we need to go and how. And in us being patient and learning how to wait, in us knocking on those doors that were being closed because we were not there yet, in us being patient when we were asking for funding, and at that time, because we were not at the stage where you can be funded, we had to learn how to be patient. And I remember my sister and I would say, I'm the most impatient person. We would say that a lot. And my sister would always say to me, you know, when I look at where you are right now and where you want to go, I don't think you have the patience. I would always say no to her because I felt that I could be patient, but boy, did I learn that I had to be even more patient. Whatever it is that I had was probably going to get me to a point where I start being patient. That's how impatient I was. And in our journey throughout the years, up until where we are now, we had to be very, very patient and understand that things happen stage by stage. When we look at the fact that we've established South Africa's first plastic brick plant, and it took self-funding to get to the point where we were, and be patient enough to let the business grow organically to a point where we are now a suitable company to become an industrialist, because we were able to apply patience in our growth phase. We're able to, through the understanding of lesson one, where we were able to be patient until we got to that growth phase of the business cycle. And that helped us go through the entire process with the understanding of where we were and where we wanted to be. The third lesson I'd like to share is knowing your audience. You know, during those 3 days of the exhibition, we were speaking to different individuals. And when I would speak to an individual who wants to build a wall around their house, when I talk to them, it's important that I know how to sell my product to them, versus when I'm speaking to an architect. They have certain things that they're interested in that the contractor is not necessarily interested in. So it's important that you understand your audience. It's important that you listen to your audience. A lot of times when we're listening to respond, and then we lose the opportunity of actually captivating whoever you're speaking to, because now all you're doing is just responding, counter conversing with the person is what I call it. And the problem is you don't hear the key things that you need to learn. So with us, we had to take a step back, and when we're getting that criticism, rather than counter, you know, everything that they're saying, we had to listen and respond appropriately. So if somebody's saying to me, this is a brick made from plastic, surely this brick is going to burn, my house is going to burn, I had to listen to what they were saying and understand their concern. So in essence, they're saying to me, where is the SABS or whatever institution that says your product is accredited? Where is the evidence that your product is strong? You know, so I'm telling the person that my product is strong, but when I listen to what they're saying, they want to see the paper evidence. They want to be comforted that I had my product tested. So it's important that we learn to listen. And when you're listening, listen so that you can understand who you're talking to, so you can respond accordingly. And just to give you guys a bonus lesson again, it's just for us how to work in a team. My sister and I are two different individuals, but we are able to work together because we have learned how to work together as a team. It's important that you identify your strengths in business, as a person. Actually, you can never do everything yourself, and in business it's very, very important to know what you can do and what you cannot do. And if you're not as fortunate as I am to be running my business with somebody that we share a womb together, that is somebody I trust. If you are not as fortunate as that, there is also outsourcing. There's other ways that you can make sure that you meet where your weaknesses are. But it's important that you learn how to work as a team so that you can actually grow your business and you can get to that point where your business is where you dream it to be. You know, every time I talk about the business cycle, I get excited because that lesson for us is very key. And if anything you can take away from this is understand where you are, understand where in life you are so that you know how to progress going forward. And that for us was the biggest, most key lesson, is just going from point A to point Z. Be patient enough to know when to get to point Z, and be knowledgeable of the people you're talking to, that when you're out from point A to point Z, you know exactly who you're talking to across. So I really, really do believe that our story or our being is through and through lessons of where we are going and where the business is today. Very exciting, very proud of what we've achieved.
Wow. Kedibone, like,
Good afternoon.
I mean,
Good afternoon.
so amazing, so absolutely amazing. I mean, you got me when you said the first plastic brick plant in South Africa. Can you please, okay, there we go. Okay, perfect. I mean, yeah, so I was just, you know, mesmerized when you spoke about the first plastic brick.
Hi, Matebo.
I think Matsepo's got network issues.
Okay.
I mean,
Hi.
we've never heard about it anyway. And
Matsepo, there's network issues on your side. Do you mind maybe searching? I'll do the interview. Is it fine for now? Because I think there's network issues. I don't know if it's me or on your side.
I think we can continue because it's fine. I also couldn't hear her.
Yeah, because I was also breaking. But thanks for the talk, for the lovely talk. So I think what you are trying to ask is plastic and environment. How did you come about with that idea?
I mean, we know the crisis that plastic pollution is creating globally. And for us, we felt like we've got a role to play. And when we were interacting with some of the locals, like waste pickers that we see on the road, we got to understand how plastic in particular is a huge collection stream for them, and the impact that it has on the environment. They're actually doing something about it. So we wanted to do something that was different, innovative, but also stick to what we know, which is the industry of construction. So we had to prototype for close to a year how to come up with something that is linked to construction, but also plastic recycling.
So who came up with the idea? Is it you? Is it your sister?
It's my sister. She's the one with the technical, and she's very OCD about plastic pollution as well. So she hates litter. Actually, any type of litter she hates. So when we were trying to come up with a concept, it took lots of research, it took lots of prototyping, but she was definitely the driver of the entire process.
So take us back to the first break. You know, how did it come out? You know, what was
Well,
what was it about the first break? How did you feel when you held it in your hands? Did it come out as expected, or was it a flop? So just
definitely not. Definitely not. No, it was a bit of a disaster. But fortunately, it was a team effort. So my father was there, my brother was there, so they were also able to help us make sure that we're safe firstly, and we're also doing things that aren't too far out there. Excuse me. But the first break was a mess. It was a disaster. And I think for a good 2 weeks we kept getting all of those disastrous products, and the thing is, we also needed to understand a lot about plastic itself, because plastic also has a lot of attributes. So what we then had to learn out of that process was mastering what we're doing. So we had to do a lot of research, a lot of understanding of different types of plastics, and how they react with different types of additives and aggregates. But yeah, after months of trial and error, I mean, when we had that first break, I have to say the feeling was incredible, because we didn't know what we were doing. We were just taking a chance, and we wanted to see if we can actually create something like that. And when we then had something that we're comfortable, I mean, at the time I was still working full time, and I was in Pretoria, and home is in the Free State. So every weekend I would have to drive back home. And so you can imagine, I was working at a bank at the time, and I leave the bank and I drive all the way home. When I get home, I must change out of my auditor clothes and put on my PPE and start working from Friday afternoon all the way to Sunday evening, and then drive back to Pretoria, and we did that for a long time. But when we finally had that product, I'd forgotten about all of that struggle.
And how long did it take you to put the prototype together? I mean, it sounds from your talk, you say it's a year. Was it a year? And how was that during that period? I mean, where you think at some point this is not working, maybe let's look at something else?
I mean, it took us close to a year. I mean, I remember we started this in 2016. I don't remember when exactly in 2016, but I remember with the test results was in April 2017. So it took time before we got to the point where we said, let's take this product for testing. And I mean, during that time, it was hectic, because I was taking out money from my pocket, because we wanted to see if this thing will work. So whatever I was earning, I would pay for the necessities, and then I'll put all that money into waste, So you're buying people's garbage. We didn't even know that at the time, we didn't know that you buy this waste. You go to landfill, it's dangerous at the landfill. So fortunately, we had our dad. So he would go to the landfill. There was all these different complexities that we needed to understand. And even like now, when I talk about my business, I say there's two businesses that we're running. We've got the manufacturing of brick side, and we've got the recycling side. So you have to understand both sides of the business, so that you make sure that whatever it is that you're producing, whether the end product is in the manufacturing side, but the recycling side is important because it feeds the other one. So, it took quite a bit of time, and I think it had to. We had a lot of things to learn and a lot of things to create in that process while we're learning. So research and development, you hear of it as a term, but it's actually very important for the life of a business and for sustainability of a business.
Yeah. So you're an auditor, you studied at tax, you did accounting and audit, and then this is a profession where you're supposed to be in air-conditioned offices, in pencil skirts and high heels, and then you move from there to outside. I mean, we were at your plant, and it's dust and it's sun, and how do you transition?
Honestly, I'm glad you guys were here, so you actually have an appreciation of it. I mean, it's a different world altogether. I miss my high heels and corporate outfits and the air conditioning and the nice coffee, but there's a different drive when you're doing something that is so close to your heart and something that is truly yours. You're creating something that was never there. I mean, with the jobs that we're creating, you saw some of our guys we work with young people. And when you think of the fact that you took young people who were off the streets and didn't have work, and now you guys are creating something together, and you've got a product that is getting into an industry typically you wouldn't find young women, let alone young Black women. And when you talk about the product and you talk about what you're doing, you realize that you're also inspiring other young women to say that you don't have to stay in the traditional conventional space that you thought you would be in, but when you do have to make that transition, you have to make it towards something that you truly are passionate about and you truly want to see it through. Because I can tell you, there are days when I sit back and I think to myself, I cannot believe this is what I'm doing, but it is completely different, but it is the rewards are completely different as well.
Okay, so there's this picture here I want to share it with everyone. Let's get into the exhibition now, right? So there's
Oh
this,
goodness.
there's this, and I'm assuming you took the picture, and this is your sister, right?
Yes.
So you are in the exhibition, you get in there, you find all these big multinationals and big companies, and you're overwhelmed, right? I mean, this is classic imposter syndrome. We belong here, you know, like, and I mean, I hear in your talk, you talk about maybe we are fraud, right? You're second guessing yourself. How did you feel? I mean, you get in here and I mean, this is not startups, and you guys are startups. This is established, grown, you know, organizations with big budgets, and you guys just took your last money into the stage. How do you feel when you go through that?
I mean, when I was listening to the video that you guys did a great job with the video. I mean, you remember some of the mistakes that were there. So when I listened to it, it's an awesome job that the team did. And when I listen to it, I actually get goosebumps because it's where we were. You know, it's like you're talking about a moment in your life that it was difficult. I mean, when we got there and we saw all these big companies, you're intimidated. You feel like you do not belong. You don't even know what you're doing. I mean, the investment for us was quite big to be parting ways with that kind of money. And when you get there and you see the scale of the other exhibitors and they've got all these fancy things and all you have is your product and that's all you can sell, you know, it was very intimidating. But I believe that push is what created the people we are today, because there's a lot of valuable things we learned. There was a lot of criticism that we received during that time. And rather than taking that personal, we had to quickly learn that this is where we are going to draw our continuous improvement. This is where we're going to learn about standards. We're going to learn about customer requirements. We're going to learn about, I mean, it is like we're doing market research, you know, because we're interacting with all these customers. And the intention was to find customers, but we actually got there and we got research, we got information, we got a lot of more value out of it than a customer giving you money for your product, much more value.
All right, so that's a good answer, and I like that answer. But let's before you got to that answer, because that for me is like we needed to regroup and sort of work out how we move on from here. But before you regroup, right, that moment where you realize that maybe you are in the wrong place here, right? I mean, what is that one person who came to your stand and started asking you this question? I mean, do you still remember that question that said, maybe, I mean, you in your talk about, let's go home, the party's over, let's unpack the thing. Was there maybe one person who came to your stand and said and asked you this monumental question that you couldn't answer, and for you, that was like, maybe you don't belong here? Do you remember that moment?
Only one. Yeah, see, there were lots. I mean, there were people who came to us about, remember, we didn't price our product properly because we rushed to get in that space. So there were people asking us about our pricing, the logic behind our pricing. And people will ask you arrogantly because these people are in the market, you know, they do this thing. So they'll ask you with a level of, what are you doing here? You don't belong here. What are you talking about? You know, so there was customer or people who came to the exhibition who would ask us about the quality of the product. We had people who were smelling the brick to see if it smells like garbage because we take it from waste. There were people who would step on the brick. I mean, it was challenging, and you can see the stature, our stature. We're quite tiny ladies as well, so you are coming into the space and you immediately look like you do not belong, and you're trying to assert yourself, and you're trying to convince these people that this is where you should be, and all of them are just like, no, these girls don't belong here, and we're going to tell them that they don't belong here. So it was quite a lot of people. We had people who were coming with as property developers, and they buy millions of bricks, so they know what the product is and what it should be, and they would come and they would give you all this criticism, and they would make you feel so small. But a lot of them, I think they were doing it because they also could not believe what they were seeing. And we at the time, we're just taking it as, oh my goodness, this was a huge mistake. These people are all right. We do not belong here. We don't know what we're doing. This is not the world for us. You talk about price, and your price is so far from what the market is charging in this area. And so they tell you, oh man, I can find a brick twice cheaper than what you're quoting me, even though they might not even be telling the truth. But at the time when you're sitting there thinking, oh, and we actually did not even do research on pricing in this area. So it was like that first part of the day was horrible. I don't want to lie. I mean, forget the posters, forget the corporate gifts. It was the interaction with people that made us feel like, no, this is, and I mean, the business world, I think it's something that we also need to remember. The business world is not here to be your friend. People in the business industry are not your friends. They want what they want, and they want to tell you what they think, and how you take it is then up to you.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, so you go through the emotions, and it's like shock treatment, right? You are so shocked, like, oh my word. Then how do you transition from that? I mean, I imagine the entrepreneurs here who find themselves in unfamiliar territory, and there's all this, I mean, confidence. Just your confidence when you enter into the space is not so solid. How do you overcome that? I mean, it's a classic. How do you overcome imposter syndrome? How did you guys overcome that? I mean, why didn't you decide you're not going back the following day? What was that thing that said to you, this is important, we need to keep on going, we can't give up now, we come too far to give up. What did you ladies do, right, for you to say you are not giving up? What was that moment? Or yeah, what was that moment that said keep going?
It was when we started, when we're sitting down and we actually had to admit to ourselves. I mean, we're feeling just like anyone else would. You're feeling very discouraged. You're feeling like you've wasted part of your life with this thing. And the moment you then have to realize that, because I think also what helped us, we are familiar with business. We grew up in a business, in an entrepreneurial space, and we were running the construction business as well, is when you then have to remember that this is a choice that you've made, and it's either you stick it through or it falls apart. And when we then started saying to the guys, what I was saying in the clip, say, do you want to see the plastic brick? Do you want to see the plastic brick? We remembered how awesome what we had done, how much work we put into this thing, and how much faith we had in our product, that we went to the market now with that confidence. And I think that was the change impact, was the confidence now that we had, because we then immediately would go to the guys before they even approach us. We'd go to them and we show them the product, and we say, do you want to see the plastic brick? And when they hear that, they immediately are drawn to you. And this is where you start talking about the technical side, all the other things that are able to bring your customer in. And one of the things that were also a game changer for us was understanding who we're talking to. Because if I'm talking to you as somebody who's interested in just building a wall in your house versus an architect who's earning points for being green, it's a different conversation that we need to have. So all of those things we started to realize in the way people were responding to what we tell them. So if I were to say to somebody, this brick is energy efficient, and I don't see their face lighting up, I know that they're not interested in that. So I won't dwell on that. I'll move on to the strength of the brick, to the fact that it won't crack for a longer period of time because of the plastic element. But then, if it's an individual, they're thinking, okay, so I don't have to maintain my wall for a longer time. If it's a property developer and you're saying it's energy efficient, he knows it's part of how he's going to sell the product to draw interest from people who are going to buy the building, for argument's sake. So it's some of those things that we had to draw from interaction with different people to learn that we do have a product and we need to stand up and believe in what we've done.
Okay, awesome. So colleagues who are on the session, please feel free to type in your questions or your comments, and we'll read them out. I've seen your question, Nomti. I'll read it out now. And if there's any other questions, please feel free to type it in, and I'll pose it to Kedibone. I have two questions before I go on. Now, let's get into the lessons, Kedibone. I mean, you talk about patience, and we talk about understanding your audience, working in a team, you know, and we talk about patience. And I understand where you're coming from, that you need to know where you are and build this, you know, step by step, and don't rush the process, because you want to build a solid foundation, pun intended, in this instance. One of the biggest questions that I get asked by entrepreneurs when we have this type of discussion is, sure, I hear you, I hear what you're saying, and I'm going to be patient. But when do you know when it's time to take the next step? When do you know when it's time to move? When do you know that I've stayed in this step for too long and it's time to move to the next step?
Wow, that's an amazing question. Hey, like I love that question. I mean, it's you mastering your business. So for us, what happened was we had to understand where we want the business to go. So when we had that honest conversation with ourselves, with that one customer, that for us was the biggest lesson. I don't think it was a mistake for us to go to the exhibition, but it might have been too soon to go with it. But what we've learned from that process was when we sat down and we said, okay, this is where we are. Now we've got a customer who wants 10,000 bricks. We cannot even manufacture 10. Where do we want the business to go? What type of customers do we want to have? So when you sit down and you actually understand the vision of your business, where do you ultimately want to see the business, you're able to then identify what steps need to take place to get you there. Because my goal might be to build, one of our goals previously was to build the tallest building in Africa, when we thought we're dreaming big, and we always say we want to build the tallest building in Africa. And when we said that, we understood that to get to that point, you need a lot of things to happen from where we are until there. You need to make sure your product is tested. You need to make sure your product is recognized. You need to make sure your product is in the market, the right quality, the right, you know, all of these things. So once you develop your end goal, you're able to break it down into different segments, because your goal, yes, must be very big, must be very scary, but it must also be attainable. You know, you need to have that practical, attainable end vision, but then it's how you go about it that makes you the entrepreneur. You know, that's the differentiator. And for us, we then had to break down into subsets and say, what is it daily? What is it monthly that we need to achieve? You know, so we've got monthly, we've got weekly, we've got daily goals as well. And in order to get the business ultimately to where it needs to be, you know, so I believe in order for you as an entrepreneur to know when to be patient and when to take that bold step is in breaking down what you need to achieve into small pieces. So make sure that when you one day want to become that multinational company, you start with that one organization, making sure that your quality is right, making sure that you adhere to safety requirements. So, you know, breaking it into pieces and into very, very small attainable pieces will make you realize when it's time to move from the business in the garage to leasing a property to, you know, so you have those step-by-step plans from that big vision, because it's hardly ever possible that you'll jump from being a startup all the way to shoot to growth, which is what we try to do. It's very difficult, and people might see on the other side and say, oh wow, but no, they definitely shot up. They'll look at Facebook and say, oh, Facebook definitely shot up, but there's tiny steps that took Facebook to get to where it is, you know. So there's tiny steps that will always get us to that end goal. But yeah, it's always about mastering every single task that is in front of you until you get to the goal.
Awesome. So it's basically how you eat an elephant, you take it one small piece at a time until, awesome. Thank you. Now, the second, you talk about understanding your audience, and I see you have invented a word, contact conversing. That's quite interesting. Often entrepreneurs are very passionate about their ideas. They like their products, they're so in love with their products, their business is like their baby, and they would want to tell everyone who cares to listen about their business, about their product. And more often, there's very little listening that takes place, right? So we often want to talk because we believe selling and marketing is talking, and making noise. But listening, we don't look at it as a very important thing. There is school for teaching how to talk, but there is no school in teaching how to listen. How did you, I mean, how did this come about that you said, maybe we need to stop talking and listen more? How did that come about?
I mean, yes, and it's true. A lot of us want to sell our product, want to talk about our product, but what we started to realize was when you, for example, when I'm talking to you and I'm selling my product, and you say to me, "Yes, your product, you're saying it's strong, but how do I know it's strong?" I can sell you as until I turn blue in the face how strong it is. But if I actually take the time to hear what you're saying to me, I will then learn that, okay, you actually want to see test results. You actually want me to show you that this brick has gone to a lab that has tested it to say that it's strong, you know? So we also had to listen because we were saying the same thing over and over again, but we're getting a certain type of response, but it's because we're not listening to what the people are saying. So it's always important to know when to just pull back and hear, because even, I mean, we also started after in 2019, especially 2020 was just the blur. But in 2019, we went to a lot of, we invested in a lot of pitching exercises. So we would watch on YouTube, we would attend competitions, we would go for business incubation to learn how to pitch. And one of the things they would tell you is if you have 5 minutes to pitch for 3. Don't try to pitch for the entire 5 minutes, because chances are in those other 2 minutes, you're going to give the audience or the judges an opportunity to ask the things that if you're taking the entire 5 minutes, they wouldn't ask one. And also it might actually be why they say no, because you didn't address a lot of things they want to know. So in listening, you're able to make sure that one, you know, the person is engaged, but two, you also are able to answer exactly their need. You're able to attain what it is to capture your customer, you know. So in us learning to listen, and even in relationships, we see this in your marriage or your relationship. When you listen to your partner, you're actually able to hear what it is that's bothering them, rather than you trying to say, are you upset because of this? Are you upset because of that? You know, so you actually you get more value in listening than in actually counter engaging. So for me as an entrepreneur, for me as a person, I've learned that there's a lot more benefit in me presenting to you a little bit, but more listening to you so that I can exactly hear what it is that you want out of what I'm telling you, you know, so how to actually get to you. Because a lot of our customers now, even when they come, when they talk to us, we'll sell the product, but when we listen to what they're saying, it'll either be a matter of, I want this brick, but I want it in this way. I want it to be delivered in this way, you know. But because you take the time to listen to what the customer is saying, you're able to meet the need of the customer. And we're in an environment, I mean, when I say we, I mean all of us, in an environment where customer service has become more important than where I buy the product. So what differentiates you from the other customers selling bricks is how you treat the customer and how you listen to what they want. So we've had to learn quickly, and we've had to apply a lot of the things where you put yourself out there, but you put yourself out there so that you can gain more than give.
Okay. Last question for me. Oh, by the way, have you guys built anything with this brick? Do you know of a building that was built from your bricks, or did you build anything on your bricks? How did it feel like walking into a
No, we supply to individuals, we supply to contractors. So we've built, the brick has built low-cost houses, it's built people's own renovations, and now it's going into hardware stores. So it works. The great thing about what my sister and I wanted to do was we wanted to create a product that can be used by anyone. So we wanted to go into the alternative space, but we didn't want to go so far out that when you want to buy the product, you first have to figure out how to use it. So that's been one of the key things that have driven interest in the product, is that you don't need any additional costs or lessons in using it. So it's definitely built a number of structures.
Okay. First feeling when you went into a building or a structure, how did it feel like?
Sheesh. It's still weird to think this is your innovation and it's housing someone, or it's built a certain structure. It still feels unbelievable. And sometimes when we do have the chance, we'll go to like a development where they're using the brick just to see, you know, how it's being used. We'll go into some of the hardwares that we're supplying, and we'll go talk to the store owners to say, what's the feel? What are people saying? Because that's how we improve.
Yeah. Last question. I mean, you talk about you and your sister in your last bonus lesson, about you and your sister and complimenting each other, you know, and all those things. But I mean, you know, kids, being kids, there's always this sibling rivalry, right? I mean, don't you guys have that? I mean, didn't you have that growing up? Didn't that translate into business where you fight amongst each other, because you're siblings, and then once in a while there'll be that. All right. I mean, didn't you go through that in business as well?
Not necessarily. So one thing that my parents made sure they did throughout our early days is we grew up very close. So I was in boarding school, she was at home, but every weekend either I would come home or she'd come and visit me at school. So we've always grown up to be very close and understand each other very well. And one of the things we had to do now when we went into business and forming into business, and we lived together as well. So we had to sit down and say, where do we draw the line? Where is it a business relationship and a sister relationship? And when something is not working from a sister perspective, how do I address it as a sister and not as your business partner? So we had to be very clear and draw up the sort of like an agreement to say, this is where we are and this is where we're going. And because we're siblings, and especially me, I'm the older sister, I also need to understand that I need to address her as a business person before I address her as my little sister. So there's a lot of lessons that we had to learn as well in how our relationship runs. And sometimes we do butt heads and we do have difference in opinion. And it's just a matter of treating the person like your business partner more than your sibling. And you have to listen to what it is that they're saying. So when I have an idea that differs to hers, I have to explain my idea and break it down to her, and she'll do the same. And then we'll then say, okay, how do we solve it? And other times we have to go home. We have to go home and talk to the parents like, can you guys as sisters, this is where we are, what do you think about this? And it helps because my family is very close, we're very close. And so when we do go home and we need assistance, it's not a matter of I go behind her back or she goes behind my back. It's a matter of we've got a problem and we'd like to address it. This is the problem. What do you guys think, mom and dad?
Yeah. So there is
and of course, sorry. And of course, we've got our older brother who's with us every day, so he's running with the operational side, so he's the one who will also be able to see when one is trying to dominate the other unfairly. So he also helps. It's a whole family structure thing going on.
So you guys don't have, you fight at work because your family, no one of you is not invited to the Christmas lunch type of a thing. You don't have that.
No.
So what happens at work?
If anything, we uninvite ourselves because we're so tired. You just want to be home, watch TV and sleep. So me and her are aligned in that sense. We love to just spend time at home, watch movies. So if there's anything that's outdoorsy, that is busy, me and her normally just say, no, this is our downtime. We hardly have downtime, but when we do, we just want to be home.
Awesome. Nomti Sekale is asking, thank you, Kedibone, for a well-articulated presentation. Would you identify your product as a sustainable and eco-friendly type? That's the first question. The second question is, how long did you all take to get it right? I think we have answered that. And which phase would you say your business is currently? Yeah, that's an interesting question. Let me see. Mr. Simpiwe Nkantana, wow, an amazing story, Kedibone. Congratulations on the beautiful concept. Nomchi, inspiration personified. Machachi, very beautiful. Nomchi, lovely being able to identify your smart criteria goals. So true. Guys, please feel free to chat, ask questions if there's any. So Nomti is asking, would you identify it as a sustainable eco-friendly type? I would assume.
100%.
Where are you?
I mean, in our process. Sorry.
Go on.
Both in the recycling of plastic, but we've got other aggregates that we're using as well that are recycled as well from other processes. And also in the manufacturing process as well, we make sure that we meet environmental requirements, and we do get audited quite a bit as well, just to make sure that we are making sure that we run a process that's tight-shipped.
Okay. Is it?
I think the other question that is
No, go on.
Sorry, please say.
No, I was asking what phase of the business are you at currently?
Yeah, that's what I was going to address. Yeah, I think that's a very good question, because I believe now we're at growth phase, because we've gone from conceptual to startup, and we are running, you know, we're going through expansion of the business. So it's definitely growth phase. It's then as understanding where it is that we want the business to be is now drawing out from growth into that rapid expansion. Because the one thing we're afraid to do, and I get this a lot with entrepreneurs, and especially after like we do something like this, people will see this on Facebook, they'll see it on your YouTube page. A lot of guys will then contact us and they'll say, we want to start a branch here, come, let's partner here, let's do this. And we often tell the guys that you mustn't take something because it looks cool and think you can just plug and play it elsewhere. You need to first show us that you've understood that environment. Do you know how recycling works in that place? Do you know what the consumption of bricks is? You know, there's certain things that people need to understand. And even with us, we told ourselves, let's not rush, because we had a lot of people, both locally and internationally. We had somebody who was somewhere in Europe and wanted to buy into the technology. And we then said, we also don't want to find ourselves rushing the growth phase, because there's certain things we need to make sure we cement here before we start expanding. And we've got a whole concept of franchise growth model, but that it will take time. People think when they see Nando's now and they see you can buy into a Nando's franchise, it happened now. It took time before Nando's said we can then roll out this thing into franchises. And a lot of, especially young entrepreneurs, they don't want to take time to do things. They want things to happen now. And when you say to them, relax, the time is going to come where we do that. But for now, we need to do 1, 2, and 3. If I roll out, for instance, I'm going to use Nando's as an example, because if I buy a Nando's franchise, there's certain things that Nando's already in our agreement say they are guaranteeing. There's certain environmental things that Nando's is responsible for. There's certain legislative things, you know, there's a lot of things in place that Nando's itself has been able to build over the years that they can charge. I think right now the franchise is about 3.6 million. And those are things that take time. It didn't just happen. So we have a lot of guys who do not want to understand that the business cycle is what it is. And it does feel like takes, but I'm sure you teach this a lot to your entrepreneurs as well, that the business cycle is something that is real. It might sound like it's another thing that comes from a textbook, but it's an actual reality of a business. You need to understand where you are and where you want to go. And so that, like with us now, we have been fortunate enough to go into the growth phase of our business. Now we're looking at expanding the operation, but also now it's the next step. Where are we going? Where do we want to see? How do we want to see it grow past this? You know, so I definitely believe we're in the growth phase of the business, moving slowly into that expansion side.
Awesome stuff. Thank you so much. Nomchi's already asking how can they get hold of you. I hope you saying what you just said didn't discourage it. So
I hope so. I hope so. I mean,
no, go on.
Sorry, I think my network cuts a bit, and then it sounds like you're done saying something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we on social media as well. So on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And then also our website, so www.ramtsilo.com. Ramtsilo is RAMTSILO.com. So we're available there, very responsive to emails. So if they do want to get a hold of us, they can get a hold of us like that. It's just, yeah, like I said, some of the guys, they just call with a certain expectation. And when you explain certain things, a lot of our young entrepreneurs don't want to understand, you know. And I think, I even said it to you, I think what you're doing is a great thing, because we need more entrepreneurs. We need entrepreneurs that go through the formal channels, because I have the opportunity of speaking to entrepreneurs from time to time. And one of the things that are often being said is they need funding, they need money in order for their businesses to grow. But when you talk to them and you actually understand what it is that you need the funding for, you realize the business needs a lot more other things before you even get to the funding, you know. So I think programs like these are also teaching entrepreneurs the patience. They need to understand your business. They need to do certain things before you even get that 10 million or 50 million in funding that we always, yes, it's important. I'm not dismissing it. It's just understanding the journey of entrepreneurship.
Awesome stuff. Kedibone and KK of Ramtsilo Project, thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Coming through.
Thank you.
Please stay put in case, I mean, at the end, we're going to bring you and Itumeleng and Tebogo to wrap up. If you don't mind staying with us for just another hour, and then we'll I mean, I would have loved to speak to your sister as well, but you know, I think you represented her very well as well. So if you don't mind, please just staying put, and at the end we'll then invite you back. Thank you so much, and all the best. This is quite a cool innovation. We teach innovation in one of our programs, and one of the things that we talk about is innovation is the intersection of two different industries. And what you've managed to do is you have managed to take the recycling industry and the construction industry, and at that intersection, that's where you come in. So well done, and quite an amazing innovation. It's so amazing to see it happen in practice. For me, it's not just theory, but you guys are actually doing it in practice. So thank you so much, and we'll see you later. That was Kedibone.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, so to speak, Itumeleng Matabane. But before I introduce Itumeleng, she basically we have sort of managed to produce 2 of her songs, and she hasn't seen them, and she's going to see them for the first time today. So we're going to play one song now, and then we'll play the last song when we close the session at the end. So the first song that I'll play, one of my favorite, and I hope you'll enjoy, and then she will come through and have a discussion, hopefully with Matsepo. She'll be settled by then. So ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you Itumeleng Matabane.
Wow, 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 wow. Itumeleng Matabane. I mean, it's
Thobela, le kae?
Tovela, such an amazing song, such an amazing song, really, really beautiful. You know, I mean, I love the fact that you have kept it Sepedi, you know, all of it. Like I was listening to all the lyrics and I've just realized, all of it is like proper Sepedi. Like there's not even one word, yes, you know, but maybe to kick us off, how did it feel you seeing the video, the music video for the very first time?
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Lots of anticipation because it took a lot of conceptualization, a lot of planning with the guys. So I really am elated to watch the finished product with you guys.
Yeah.
I hope you love it.
So,
yeah.
Oh my goodness, we loved it. So, I mean, I had the honor of listening to this one and Shabatedi, you know. And I think, I mean, I just love the rawness of how Sepedi it really is. But maybe my first question to you is, how did you decide, Hore, you're just gonna keep it simple, you're gonna keep it local, you're gonna keep it Venek? How did that, was it a difficult decision to make when you decided, Hore, you're gonna just sing Sepedi throughout? Were you not worried that the industry might reject the...
Not really.
Okay, go ahead.
No, not at all. Kimopedi, I hail from the beautiful province of Limpopo. So for me, Sepedi, I was greatly pained. I've been greatly pained by the fact that our tradition, our heritage, our languages are fading away. So we need those bearers that will be able to carry this baton to the next generation. And yeah, I put myself as one of the sacrificial lamb. I think as you've said, it's not easy for the industry to open up to such, but I mean, someone has to do it, and I because I love doing it, it's pretty much organic.
Okay. I mean, yeah, somebody must do it first. You know, somebody must change the game. Somebody must lead the pack.
Absolutely.
And yeah, and we are happy that you decided. I mean, I'm properly excited because Linda Kimopedi. So when I can hear the lyrics and I can understand them fully, I'm just like, oh my goodness, I hope everybody can understand them. But so I want to ask you, and I think you know, our audience possibly would not, you know, be privy to this. But then your other song, which we're going to play at the end of the episode today, you know. And for me, I feel like it is a proposal song. Ya gore ge o le monna o nyaka mosadi, you know, do the right thing, pop the question, you better have the cows, you know, meaning that you better be working, you better have the cows, and the cows must not be di khobunyana fela, they must be mabramani, like proper cows. Therefore, you know, go out there, get the work done so that you can put the ring on it. So I know, so this is a funny question. So I know that Adele, I know that Taylor Swift, when they compose songs and when they write songs, I know that it is from a life experience. So are you trying to tell someone? Are you trying to tell someone, hey, wena, ke khale o mpeile mo pampering, ke khopela o, you know, make this thing work, you know, bring the cows, like what's happening there?
Oh wow. let me get this laugh out of my throat first. Okay. You know, Shabatedi is actually a concept that was embedded in my heart years ago. perhaps about over a decade ago, the idea behind the song, the overall idea, is bringing honor to the person who is a woman.
Okay.
So in the olden days, when men,
Yes.
the right-hand men of the king, when they went to go see him, the first thing they would do is to shavatedi. To shavatedi is to be on one knee. So for people who are not Bapedi, to shavatedi is to be on one knee. It's a sign of respect in Sepedi. So it's not actually something that's done by Batsita only, but it's done by anybody or any man who's trying to show respect to another. So the broader concept of the song is respect. The secondary concept of the song is bringing honor to the woman, because in the modern day, when a man shows love or proposes love, they get onto one knee. So you actually did get, correct the part of the song, which I love. But I'm not trying to send any sign to anybody. I'm just being a representative of the women, of every culture, women of the world, for the men to please respect us, honor us, do right by us. So that is the message behind the song.
Message behind. Okay, I mean, I love that message. I wish a lot more men, women, could get that message. Men, please do right by us. String along. I love that. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're free to put your questions on the chat or your comments on the chat, so that I can be able to then start asking Itumeleng some of your questions. If you have questions, if you have comments that you would want to make. I mean, my other question though is, so COVID is the gift that keeps on giving. So it started last year. We thought that it was just going to be for a couple of months. We thought it was going to be 14 days, 21 days, a couple of months. And then it's been a year. And then, 2021 is still a COVID year. I mean, my question to you is, because I know that a lot of the people in the entertainment industry were badly affected by the COVID. How has it affected your business? And maybe is Pula, one of those songs that where you're actually just saying, God, can it just start raining now? Can the COVID just end so that we can start be back making the money and getting back into business?
You are very much on the money, because I think most of the people know that creatives are very spiritual people. So this is a song that I got pre-COVID, and I was actually going through my own personal stuff, and I was just pleading with God to say, Father God, where are you? May you please bless this life of mine. And as we may know, in Sepedi, Pula or Midupi symbolizes blessings. So that is how the song came about. And lo and behold, COVID hit. And it was in the heart of COVID that I decided, I think people need some kind of relief, some kind of good news. And if we can ask together to God, to the heavens, to please make it rain on us in any way that God sees fit for us, let it be. And so Pula Inanga Midupi was released last year. And yeah, COVID has badly, affected me. No exception, but we try and move with the times. We try to digitize ourselves. We try to innovate. We try to find other ways to monetize our products, because technology has become the new norm. So we just moving with the times.
Yeah, no, I mean, in this day and age, if you don't re-engineer your processes, if you don't innovate, you get left behind. O tlo shala ko morago le di-LP tsa gago whilst, people are playing downloads online and MP3s. So, when you meet a lot of, especially young, beautiful, Black women who, I mean, you came into the industry in 2017. So when you meet young women who've just recently come into the music industry, there's a lot of indecent proposals that happens. There's a lot of, you butter my hand, I butter your hand type of arrangements that happen. Do you have an experience like that? And how do you deal with stuff like that, where people are expecting you to do wrong stuff in order for you to get opportunities, or even for your music to be played? Am I asking deep questions?
And I center I cringe and I center myself answering that question, because besides what you guys know or what you've seen, me entering the music industry in 2017, I had already started like years ago, trying to knock on this door, trying to engage this person, trying to ask for this. And I mean, I just remember I was told straight up by one gentleman who is still in the industry, by the way, who said, "You are a woman and I am a man, so you know what that means." And unfortunately, it's the nature of the beast. I don't know. I think it shouldn't be that way, but I think patriarchy and all these other systems have just enabled this beast to grow and grow and grow and feed on the innocent. So you just need to make a decision for yourself. If you're a person like me and you have the burning passion that drives you and that says to you, you cannot stop. Because I know that I've tried to stop and I've said to God, you know what, Father God, I can't do this because this is just, I'm landing in places that I shouldn't be. And I'm coming across vultures, waiting to devour. So grant me strength. If you want me to continue this, show me. If you don't want me to do this, also let me know. And really, he's been so gracious such that he's given me those slight indications and I've been able to make, strides, not as quick, but I believe that, I can be proud of what I've achieved. Funded currently today, and my heart just goes out to each and every single young woman out there who's trying to make it in this industry. They need to identify themselves. They need to know who they are and know what they want, and just make sure that they map for themselves how they're going to get there, because nobody is going to do it for them. And it needs a lot of strength and a lot of tenacity, a lot of dedication, commitment. I can say all of them put together in one bag. You have.
Okay, great. I mean, I don't know if it was just me, but I think part of your network was a little bit bad. Maybe it's me. I mean, yeah, I'm in a networkless environment, but the stuff that you're saying is great. And I mean, I love the fact that you're young and you're energetic and you're, you know, ready to literally pull the bull by its horns. And I mean, weird question that I'm gonna ask right now. Do you think, and maybe, I mean, I must just be honest and say, Hlaba Teddy, I really, really loved it. And I mean, I think my next question is going to be about the genre of music that you decided to go into, and maybe, you know, who are your influences? Is it Bo Judith Sipuma? Because I know that she's also tried to dabble a little bit in, you know, doing her songs in Sepedi. But before I ask that question, that's going to be my last question. Before I ask that question, do you think, and maybe this might be an unfair question to you, but do you think that Lobola is being commercialized? I get you're talking about Mabreman over there.
Absolutely. Wow. At exponential levels. It's shocking. It's shocking because my understanding of Lobola, ke kgwerano, the two families. It's about blending the two families together. It's about appreciating what the other family has done for the other, raising either the man or the woman. It is about building a relationship. So, I mean, nowadays, I just heard recently that, you know, the guy was charged 90K. I'm like, whoa, what's going to happen when they move to their home? I mean, the standard of living nowadays is so high such that I can just imagine that 90,000 could have gone to something else, like, you know, a house that they're going to put together, the two of them. So yeah, it is getting very commercialized. And I just think that it's going to start encouraging bad behavior, really. Like Fat and Set, okay, Fat and Set is not bad behavior if you are aware of what you're doing. But if you are where you think just taking the privileges of being in a marriage setup and you're just fat and setting, it takes away from marriage if it's something that's in your heart. But yeah, things like Fat and Set, things like, okay, so we know what will come out of Fat and Set. And it's just going to complicate a lot of things, debts as well. So it's a lot of things that could go wrong with the commercialization of Lobola.
Okay. I mean, so that's great. A quick, you know, roundup of, you know, what are some of the people saying on the chat. Nomti is enjoying the song. She says it's beautiful. I mean, I agree. I think it's a beautiful song. Ndombi Koloti says very great motivation to be on this platform. Then she tells us that she was invited by Tebogo, and that she's glad to be here. So, I mean, yeah, in closing, and as part of your checkout, you know, how did you stumble upon this genre? How did you decide to is it jazz? What is it?
I call it African soul, because it is very much African. I am rooted in Bupedi and my Bupediness. So even if I do dabble with, you know, other languages, I know that at my core, I will sing in Sepedi, because part of my essence is to preserve the Sepedi language and to ensure that our heritage is well kept, so that our children and our children's children can live to find, you know, substance, to find education, to find music, poems, to find books, to find everything that is related to Sepedi. But obviously, I mean, I love all the other languages. Ngiyakwazi ukukhuluma, ngiyakwazi uthetha, ngayitsi go bua. I'm learning to bula and nakuamba. Yeah, so I'm just, and that is why I call it African soul, because it doesn't mean that I'm not, that I don't like other languages. It's just that I was born in a Pedi body with a Pedi background, and that is what I know, and that is what I've chosen to proceed with. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Itumeleng. It was so great to engage with you. Please stay on for until the end of the show, because towards the end of the episode, what we'll do is we'll bring all the three of you speakers, and then we'll just take your final comments and your final words. And if there are other questions that have come out on the chat or on our Facebook page, then you can be able to then take those questions. But yeah, I mean, I think you're an absolute dream. I think your music is incredible. I look forward to the day when you get that summer, that Grammy, that whatever. So I mean, yeah, I think it's amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, so moving to the next powerhouse. Our next powerhouse is Tebogo Mosito of the Tebogo Project. I mean, I think she is an introverted power. She's a dynamic and innovative professional leader with good organizational and influential interpersonal skills. She's very articulate, self-motivated, and a disciplined businesswoman. So let's go to Tebogo's video. Are we ready with Tebogo's video?
Globally, women are perceived not to be strong enough to run engineering businesses. But I believe if women are given a chance, they can conquer the world. I decided to start the Tebogo Project in 2012, which is a company specializing in steel engineering services, fabrication, repairs and refurbishments of motors and pumps, and we also do plant maintenance shutdowns. This is the industry that is male dominated. From the minute I started, I was required to prove myself that I can deliver, as per my male counterparts. So the journey was not so easy. It was a very difficult one. From 2012, I started knocking in different mining companies looking for opportunities. And I was always told that, do you have your own factory? Do you have qualified engineering artisans that can work on projects? So I realized as a woman, you need to prove yourself twice, that you are capable. But it didn't stop me. I didn't give up. I knocked on doors. I started with a zero balance in 2012, looking for opportunities in engineering. Everywhere I went, they asked me, why are you so much into engineering? Are you sure it's your business? But I kept proving that, this is my passion and I would really do good in that kind of business. One day I went to one of the biggest mines here in Rustenburg, and they told me that we want to give you a chance, but do you have enough capacity? Do you have financial backing? And I started knocking on government doors. I knocked for 4 years, I couldn't get funding, but I still had a goal and I still had a dream that one day I want to be in engineering. So I kept on looking for partnerships, collaborations, people that can help me to start up the business, until I decided to look for, engineering companies that were already in the business. The only problem is that they were not complying when it comes to Black empowerment and, triple BE, which is broad-based, Black economic empowerment. So I decided to collaborate with them in order for me to learn the industry, to understand the dynamics, and to really navigate through the mining space, because alone I couldn't open all those doors. 2015, they gave me my first opportunity, to start delivering. It was a huge order. I thought I was ready. At first, I didn't have trucks to deliver to the mine. Then I priced in such a way that, I was going to make a profit, but at the end of the day, I didn't make profit because I rely on outsourcing most of the work to people who were assisting me with, transporting the goods to the mine, as well as outsourcing some of the fabrication, because most of these mines, they wanted to come to my workshop to do evaluation, and they found that we are not yet ready to comply and compete fairly in the market. But that was an eye-opener for me. I went back to government. It took more than 8 months searching for funding. They was looking for business plans. They were asking me for financial projections. And, I went back and forth, but I didn't give up. I said to the mines, give me small projects, and with that money, I can really start building myself up. So from 2015 up to 2018, I was struggling to enter the market due to non-compliance. And I started, building myself up, doing a lot of training. I went to CEDA, who assisted me with ISO 9001 training. And then I went back to the mines and said, now I am ready. I understand the kind of quality that you are looking for and all those quality inspections that you need. I believe that I am ready. Sometimes as a woman, you feel that you can do everything and you are a risk taker. They ask you, are you ready? And I said, yes. I didn't, think about all these big projects that were going to come. After I had completed 1 or 2, they wanted to test me with more. That time now, I started crying because I exhausted all my funds, trying to prove that I can really deliver to the best of, my ability. First of all, I had to train staff. I had to issue staff with proper PPE, which is the personal protective equipment. And coming from an HR background, I myself needed more business skills and training. So I went through a number of enterprise development programs and supply development program in order to equip myself with more knowledge about the industry. Then it came a time when the mine placed a very huge order on my company, and there were some delays, in terms of delivering that order. Because we are in the steel fabrication, there was now a shortage of steel, and as I was not doing the manufacturing in-house, I was outsourcing most of the work. I couldn't really answer the mine why I am delaying. I did explain to them that there is a shortage of steel in the industry, but they said to me, you need to have a backup plan. That is where I realized I need to now knock on more doors, look for more funding in order to do everything on my own, in order to be accountable to the mining houses. Then I went to one of these funding institutes from government, and they funded me. It was about 2 million. You'll think 2 million is a lot of money, but it was enough to buy small tools and equipment, and I had to use the money now to move into a bigger premises, which is a factory that is 2,000 square meters in Mokwase Industrial. Those were the previously dilapidated factories that were not used. So most of the money that I made from those previous orders, I used them to refurbish that workshop and to install all the electrical infrastructure that was required to make sure that the factory complies with the mining industry standards. Until then, there was a point where the mine needed to come and do an inspection. They came to the workshop and they saw that, oh, you moved from a small workshop, now you are into a bigger facility, but unfortunately, you are still not meeting the requirements. You know, after spending that 2 million rand on other things, including, you know, fixing the roof of the factory that we are in, you know, installing water plumbing systems, I thought that, you know, having refurbished the office space, the mine will be impressed by everything that I had done. But they told me that, you know, you still lack proper lifting equipment, you still lack an industrial crane, which is like 5-ton or 10-ton crane. And what happens when there is no electricity? Because the area that we are in, sometimes there's a lot of load shedding. And in my workshop, when they moved around, they realized that I do not have an industrial generator to back me up when there is load shedding. I also saw that, you know, I still need more funding. I needed an extra 8 million rand in order to meet all the requirements that the mine needed. It was a drawback for me because that was almost at the time when the president was announcing level 5 COVID-19 lockdown. That meant after having put all my money into this workshop, making sure that it is compliant, now we had to stop operating. Now for the next 6 months, March 2020, up until August, we couldn't go into the mines, we couldn't market ourselves, and all the money went to waste because I had to now restart refurbishing the factory again to make sure that we meet the standards. And going back to the mine, they said to me, you know, we gave you a contract, we gave you enough time to prepare yourself to deliver. There's many companies out there that can do the services that you are doing. But because we believed as a woman, you do have some technical challenges, you can come up with another solution to provide us the services. Unfortunately, in the next 6 months, if you are not ready, if you don't have that overhead crane, then we are going to take that contract away from you. So, yeah. I started, you know, going through some bit of depression, I must say, because I was always stressed. The bigger picture for me was making sure that I convinced the mine that I am capable of doing my own manufacturing instead of, you know, outsourcing all the work. And the mine told me that the reason we want you to stand on your own is that we want to make sure that you are not a middleman, you are not fronting. But for me, the frustration was, as a woman, they shouldn't really look for all those things which they know it's impossible for me to raise within a short space of time. And I said to them, don't take away the contract, give me another chance. I'll look for a developmental partner, I'll collaborate with someone who can help me to deliver again. And guess what? June 2021, I had found someone. We signed an agreement, we started fabricating, and we delivered some few cars to the mines. And then, unfortunately, he was tested positive due to COVID. He passed away end of June this year. It was just a sudden death after we had signed up an agreement and we had plans how we are going to move Ditsogo forward. But now I feel like I'm now 10 steps back because I thought I had now found a solution to really navigate through and make sure I deliver on this contract. But with the current passing of my partner, I'm back to square one. I went back to government and I said to them, listen, you funded me the 2 million. I used the money to refurbish the workshop and to buy the small tools and equipment, but I still need more money. Now I need 8 million. I need more money to install an overhead crane. I need more money to make sure the factory's got 3-phase electricity. And now the government is saying, we want to see your management accounts. We want to see your at least historical financials. And you can imagine, ever since I started my business, there's been a lot of setbacks, from the COVID to end of 2018, I lost my father. And then after 9 months, I lost my mother. Those were the pillars of my strength. As an entrepreneur, if you don't have a good support structure at home, then sometimes you lose focus. I feel like, as women, we need to be given more time. We need to get more support from government. And that being said, I want to be an example to other women who want to tap into the industry to say, don't give up, keep pushing. The doors will feel like they are closed, but somebody will open the doors for you. At the moment, I managed to get funding again for the overhead crane. We are busy now installing that overhead crane, and I believe that in 2 to 3 months, we will be ready to do our own in-house fabrication, and I can go back to the mine to say, you don't have to cancel my contract because now I have proper systems in place that I can run this contract. But for me, I've learned a lot throughout my whole, journey of being an entrepreneur and starting this engineering business, is that first of all, as an entrepreneur, you need to do proper research. Research about the type of industry that you are in, research about all the compliance that is required within that industry. And secondly, never rely on one supplier, never rely on one client, never rely on one source of income. Because for me, the lesson was, if I had not, delivered on time, chances were I could have lost that contract, I could have lost that client, and it meant the business was going, to collapse. Because when I was building this business, I was focusing more on this client. But I am happy that they told me to fix 1, 2 things, which they are going to open opportunities for me with other mining houses, because now I understand what all the other mining houses are looking for. And as a woman entrepreneur, don't be afraid to ask for help, get mentorship, go through enterprise development programs, and always ask the relevant questions. And when you do apply for funding, don't rush into things. Write a list of all the things that you require for the business, so that when you finally get that funding, you don't have to go back to the funder and say, oh, I forgot to mention one thing, or I forgot to mention the third thing, because by that time you'll find that it will be now difficult to get the funding that you require. Just in closing, being a woman in engineering is the most amazing journey I've ever walked in. It's very challenging. I cry every day, but the rewards are fantastic. It's a very lucrative business. Once you can understand all the processes and all the systems, I believe that I am going to conquer the world. It's still a journey. We are still traveling it. And I would like to say to other entrepreneurs, especially women, as we celebrate Women's Month, I would like to give advice to the young women and all the women who want to tap into these male-dominated spaces. You must know that it comes with a lot of sacrifices. For me, I had to lose a partner. I'm a mother of 4. I don't spend a lot of quality time with my kids. And sometimes I cannot, attend family gatherings. So I realized this industry, you need to really know that you're going to focus on the business and making sure that your business is growing. because sometimes you need to network with, you know, your male counterparts. If you don't act like that, they feel like as a woman you're not ready. So for me, I believe that the only time that you can really conquer this is when you understand the industry, you know, when you understand that sometimes you have to not be with your friends or with your family and be at the business, making sure that your business is growing. And also with the government, don't be, you know, afraid of all the red tapes that are there. Keep pushing, you know, keep explaining your business model so that they can understand what you're looking for. For me, it's been a very long journey, having to explain to everyone that I need this 8 million because I need to have a plasma cutter, I need to have industrial rolling and bending machines, and you find that the person that you are speaking to, they don't really understand the industry that you are in. So it's very important that when you talk to funders about your business, you must illustrate and demonstrate with also pictures, and so that they can understand. Invite them to the mine, they walk with you so that they can understand all your frustration. Sometimes they ask me, why do you need working capital? I need working capital because many of my competitors, especially white-owned companies, they have enough capital, you know, to drive around in every mine to market for business. You know, they need capital for diesel, they need capital for medicals, to make sure that your employees are working in a very safe environment. Because as women, we also invest in the community development. I want to make sure that the community that I work in, they also get empowerment opportunities. So in closing, I wish every woman to just, you know, take a risk, start a business in engineering. Thank you.
Thank you, Tebogo. You know, listening to your story. Welcome. You know, I think, and this is just my personal, you know, opinion, I think next to the word resilience in the dictionary, there is a picture of you. That's what I think. So I want to then join. I think it is Nomti on the chat who says kudos for you being in this industry. That's number one. But number two, my goodness, like your story is just packed with moments where, as you are sharing your story, I just keep on going, oh, Jehovah. Yeah. I keep on going, oh no, not again. You know, like, can she get a break? So maybe to kick us off, I was listening to you, you're saying, you know, you started at zero balance, 2012 for 4 years. And I think this is a story of a lot of women. It's just that we never get the chance and the opportunity to hear those stories. For 4 years, you're just, you know, doing business development, you're knocking on doors. Nobody is opening their doors, you know. From 2015 to 2018, you're struggling to infiltrate the market. So you're going into the market, you're trying to say, okay, guys, like, you know. So, I mean, my first question to you is, how did you feel? What did you go through in those 4 years? You know, what did you do on a daily basis? Because, I mean, 4 years is a long time for you to be knocking and knocking and knocking. And what is it that kept you going and not giving up? You know, I mean, you've got an HR background, you've got a professional background. If I was you, I mean, I'm not an entrepreneur or anything, but if I was you, I possibly would have gone back to what I know, and you didn't. You just kept on pushing and pushing and pushing. So what kept you going, you know, through those 4 years, and what did it feel like?
Yeah, it's a very difficult question, because one thing that I didn't mention, you know, throughout the journey, you know, when I started this Ditsogo, I was going through, you know, marriage problems, and, you know, I was going through a divorce. So there was a time when I was homeless because I left my home, you know, to try and find myself, you know. So yeah, it was really difficult. But what kept me pushing was that I always saw that women are not tapping into this industry. And I made my own research. I knew that it was a very lucrative business. So for me, what kept me going was that, if I can get it right, I know I'm going to reap the rewards. That is what kept me pushing all those time.
Yeah, that's why I think your story is just like typical of a lot of women who, as you're trying to make the business work, you're then losing your family, you're losing your marriage. And that helps me to segue into my next question smoothly. According to you, what do you think was the biggest sacrifice that you've ever had to make? What do you believe is the biggest thing that you've lost through the journey?
The biggest sacrifice when I started my business, I was working full time. I had to resign from my permanent job in order, to start this business and to focus on it 100%. So when I resigned from my permanent job, I lost all the benefits, from the medical benefits, the housing benefits. And one of the biggest sacrifices is that I had to move my kids from, private schools, and I took them to my in-laws in Limpopo, and they went to study in a rural school. Not to say that a rural school, there's a problem with it. I'm from a rural school, but when when I started working in the corporate HR, I wanted to do everything that is best for my kids. But for me to start this business, I had to sacrifice quite a lot. And I didn't also think about the impact it had on my kids, because every time we had to share. If I had 100 rand and I needed to buy food for them, I said to them, I need to buy data in order to search for tenders or any business opportunity that was available. Thank you.
Hey, ma otshwara thipa. For real. Like your story. So I'm seeing on the chat, people are just on some talk about finding purpose within hurtful moments. You are inspiration and a very phenomenal woman. And then I think Simpiwe, I don't know if she's the one that you invited, who says, what a story to tell. Great Tebogo. And I'm so fortunate to have met you and understand the person that you are, and I thank God for being with you. So I mean, that's just, I think your story is just mind-blowing. Like, I'm hearing it for possibly the third time, but I'm still blown away. So how did you transition? Because you were in HR, corporate world, all the benefits, the security of a job and a salary every month. How do you then transition into this engineering field that you know very little about, and then stick? How did that transition happen?
Well, the thing that helped me a lot was that, previously my ex-husband was a welder. So I knew about the steel industry from 2002, So yeah, I think it was not really difficult for me because I already understood, the steel industry, although he was in a more domestic field. But in terms of mining, hey, I had to really find great mentors. I was very fortunate to attend a lot of mining in Davos, invited by the government. And I decided, what, for me to learn, I need to always raise a voice, always ask questions so that people can really, notice me and give me opportunities. So I went through a lot of, enterprise development programs. I went through a lot of mentorship programs just to build myself up. I remember I also had to go to Atlanta, USA, to develop my leadership skills as a woman, because in this industry, I was the only woman, going to site meetings and all that. So if you don't have, a good support structure, and if you're not ready, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, the industry can really break you.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? That's why I'm just saying, I mean, I think you're incredibly amazing. I think you are. And I think, this episode for me, it's just proving to me, when we say women, we don't necessarily mean that, when they strike you, you don't hurt. We mean that we are innate. We are strong. Innate, we are resilient. Innate, we are able to just morph from, one level of something into a different level of phenomenality. I'm going to create words for myself. So, okay. So there is then this story where you're saying, okay, you're hustling for a number of years. And then eventually you get a client.
Yes.
Get a client, and then the client says, here's my order. And then Tebogo, when Tebogo is supposed to deliver, what is happening? Tebogo is unable to deliver. So how did you keep that client? Because I'm just like, if I was the client, I was going to be saying, you see, this is why we don't give you guys opportunities, because now I give you an order, now you can't deliver, now you don't meet the requirements, now, So how did you keep the client? What kind of conversations were you having with the client so that he stays?
I think one thing that really helped me a lot was that, I'm part of the International Women in Mining, and through that, I learned about, the mining charter, the requirements. So, building networks that would help me to really go back and have a great conversation with the client to say, listen, you started me from a zero balance where I didn't even have a car. I didn't even understand the industry. And you as a client, you invested in me, putting me on enterprise supply development. Now that I'm going through challenges, you want to drop me, but you had put a little bit of investment in me. So you need to nurture me. I was scrolling. Now I'm starting to walk. Now I'm falling. So you need to pick me up. You can't just let me go. So, and I always said to them, and I'm from this rural village where you really can't find a woman like me. I know I'm competing mostly with, male businesses. So if you can show me that here's another woman who's got everything that you require, and they couldn't really prove that there is another woman who's got everything. So I said, rather help me, take me through this journey, and then don't drop me. And yeah, my focus was on this type of product. So I said to them, for me to be sustainable, give me something else, some small things, let me just supply you so that I can keep my vendor active and then show you that I'm still resilient and determined. And I kept learning, and they could see there was an improvement, because every time I made a little bit of profit, I buy some small tools, I invite them to say, hey, come and see, I managed to buy 5 equipments and all that. So I think that kept them, interested in still having me as one of their suppliers. And the good thing was that, they had already rocketed, to say, okay, we have this woman, they've been, doing some media, engagements with me. So I think just having a good relationship, visiting your clients often,
Absolutely. I mean, relationship building with the client is of the utmost importance. And I think what you spoke, to around mentorship and ensuring that you get the right mentors, especially if you're in the mining field, where, you're going to most possibly be one of the very few, if not the only woman in the room, you need to then have great relationship. So I'm listening to your story, and then you're saying, okay, so you went looking for money, and then the first chunk of money that you got was 2 million. Né? And then the money then quickly just ran out. Yeah. And then now you're going again, and now you're looking for 8 million. Yeah. The financial whatnot, did he guy? I'm then asking myself, what happened there? Did you make the calculation, the first 2 million, because you were in the smaller warehouse and you were looking at those costs, and now the extra 8 million is because you've now moved on to a bigger warehouse, etc., etc. I'm asking myself, why didn't you just ask for 10 million in the very beginning?
Yeah, you see the problem that we're having as entrepreneurs, especially in this type of industries, when you look for, say, a large amount of funding, then you need to prove with the contracts that you are having that you'll be able to pay that loan. So at the moment when I was applying for that loan, I didn't have, I only had just one contract. So I couldn't prove to them that I have other extra clients that I was working on. So when I moved from that small factory moving into a big one, I didn't also check that that big factory itself needed money for the refurbishment and all that. So actually the money that I had for the business, it was used for other things, to refurbish the factory instead of to invest in the working capital and making sure that we move, straight forward. So it was like, yeah, just a mistake that happened.
Yeah, very costly mistake. I mean, I think, what you say about research being very important, even from a financial perspective, to ensure that all your I's are dotted and all your T's are crossed from a financial perspective, so that, you're able to then say, what have I done with the 10 million that I got? So, I mean, I want to move into a little bit of a personal space for you. And I think it's this part of your journey where I just, held my heart, and I was just like, oh God, she's just been through a lot. So, okay, everything now is working in the business. Now you've got the 8 million. Now you've got a bigger warehouse, and then you get a business partner. Now you're partnering with this person, and then COVID hits. So two things. The one thing which I think we'll speak about just a little bit later is I want to find out how COVID affected your business. I mean, I know that you spoke a little bit about how that affected your business, but I want to ask you a different question around that. But how did you deal with, I mean, I was devastated on your behalf. How did you deal, or how did you feel like when you got the message, that the partner is gone?
Yeah, it was devastating. Mm-hmm. Firstly, I learned so much from that passing, because there's a lot of things that went wrong. Like, for example, he was the only person, having access to, the financials or understanding, from the process, from fabrication, from sourcing the material, from, all the processes that was involved for us to move the business forward. And when he passed on, we didn't have like an exit strategy to say who is now going to take over. I mean, I'm talking about the challenge that I'm facing even now. Currently, I'm looking for a partner who can help me to grow this business, because alone, I cannot do it. There's too much risk involved. Yeah. And yeah, COVID, it really, for a small business, it showed me that, I'm not 100% ready, to deal with the risk. For example, now, ever since, the COVID lockdown, there's been a lot of delays in the supply of steel, getting them from other components, are imported. So if you don't have enough cash flow, if you don't have a strong team that can fight for you, in the mining industry, to say, hey, don't give us a force majeure, this is what is happening. Yeah. Then it can really close a business down. I think I'm fortunate that besides the mining industry, I do have other clients who, they were also hit by the COVID-19, the tourism sector. And they were very supporting me, so that I can keep afloat. But yeah, losing a business partner, in times like that, it's, yeah. I'm still a little bit depressed about it. Yeah.
So, and thank you for adding that, because I wanted permission to move, and dig a little deeper around those issues, because I think the other thing that you speak about is the fact that you then also just lost your mom, you lost your dad, and I think it was, in a period of 9 months, and then now you're losing the business partner. So there is just a lot of loss, and also just the fact that you're losing opportunities, you're mourning opportunities, you're mourning your parents, you're mourning the business partner. So how do you then get out of you call it a little bit of depression, maybe it's smiling depression, I don't know. But how do you keep sane every morning? I mean, I swim every day, but I ask myself, how do other women keep sane who are going through a lot? So we've got a number of people online who might be going through the same thing or have gone through the same thing, especially because of COVID. Most of us have lost someone. Your advice maybe to some of the women as to how you did it, and maybe what women can try.
For me, culturally, we sometimes we shy away from things like that. But yeah, after losing both my parents, I started having a life coach. I started going through counseling and, trying to find a balance between, work life, because I felt like I was very much overwhelmed by everything that was happening around me. And yeah, it's good to have somebody that you can talk to. And yeah, I started exercising a lot. I started looking after myself because I felt sometimes I'm going to have a nervous breakdown, because at times I don't want to be surrounded by people. You can find me on social media, but most of the time I would rather be, at home on my own, with kids. But yeah, as women, we really need to take care of our mental health, especially when you are in business, because you don't want to break down in a boardroom, something like that.
Yeah. You don't want to do that, but some of us have done the breakdown in the boardroom. Different question for you. So I know that COVID was downtime for a lot of us, forced downtime. There's a number of people who've written books, a number of people who started cooking at home. And I'm wondering, from a business perspective, what did you do from a business perspective? How did you use the quiet downtime to try and unlock some value from your business?
For me, I've been doing quite a number of, training. I started, learning a lot about ISO 9001 and, understanding, the compliance, and all this. So I've been doing a lot of online training sessions, just to understand the industry better. And yeah, spending more time with the kids. Because sometimes you get so frustrated that you don't focus in your business because you're looking back at home to say something might go wrong. Because being in this industry as a woman, you have to focus on your business,
Yeah, that's true. And I think it was great that we all got an opportunity to go back and refocus, internally in the family, because I think especially a lot of women, when we try to make it in business, make it in corporate, we do seem to fall behind in keeping the home fires burning. Tebogo's video just went down, so I'm not too sure if she's still with us. Okay, great. Two last questions. I don't know if there are, I'm gonna check on the chat if there are any questions, but you're in the mining industry, in an industry that is male dominated. Are you building a business that will be a legacy that you can leave for your children? And do you think that they are interested in taking up the business, and maybe how are you supporting them to ensure that, or how are you preparing them to ensure that they take the business forward?
Luckily, all my kids, they were born in this industry, so they are, one or two are passionate about it. And I think for me, it's not only the legacy for my kids. You know, I'm creating an opportunity for other women to step in. I've realized that, especially in our rural village, a lot of women are, you know, are trying to run away from this industrial.
Tebogo? I think we've lost Tebogo. Okay. Okay. I think as we try and get her back, unless if it's my
Employing female boilermakers and female artisans. And I think one of them, you know, can really be a part of the business and help it to grow until such time that, you know, my kids can decide whether they also want to be part of it. But yeah, I'm not really married into the business. I'm trying to build an asset of value where I can really maybe in the future have extra more partners to help us to grow. Thank you.
Oh, wow. So that's amazing. So that's amazing. So, you know, what Tebogo has done, which is something that I think a lot of us as women, we don't do enough, is she's then, you know, thrown the gauntlet forward and she said, I am looking for a partner. And Tebogo, I mean, you correct me if I'm oversharing, you'll correct me. But you said you are looking for a partner who will assist you to shoulder the risk of the business.
Yes.
So maybe
Yes.
maybe take 30 seconds before I bring Itumeleng and Kedibone, before I bring them back onto the panel for some final discussion and final checkout words. You know, maybe tell us what type of a partner you are looking for, because maybe this is a platform where one of us, you know, has got the gazillions to go into business with you, or we know someone who does.
I think for me, I'm looking for a partner that is resilient like me, somebody who understands that you won't make profit in the first year or two. It takes time to build a solid, you know, business profile and to start, you know, accumulating wealth and assets. So I'm also looking for someone who's very hands-on, who can go in, you know, understand the industry instead of just sitting in the office. Because most of the time we're on site, we're working in the mines and getting our hands dirty. So that's why I really enjoy this networking session, because I get to dress up, you know, because every day I'm wearing my, you know, my safety clothes and all that.
PPEs, yeah.
Yeah. And somebody who really understands, you know, the industry. Yeah. Someone who's got a strong financial background. Because sometimes we make mistakes and we don't put any contingency plans, especially when we're tendering for big projects, and the mine will always say, no, you gave us a fixed price for 3 years, you know, forgetting that sometimes there's a lot of price changes, especially now due to COVID. Yeah.
Okay. Amazing. So I'm going to take this opportunity now to invite back Kedibone, to invite back Itumeleng on the panel with us for some final discussion and just check out. I just want to check on the chat if we have any questions, because I also don't want to steal any more of your time. It's a Sunday evening now. For people who've got kids, you know, it's time to brush up on the school uniform and finalize and check, you know, if the homework is ready for tomorrow. So can we pin Idu and pin Kedibone as well, so that they are on the panel? Kedibone, are you still here with us? Okay, can we pin Kedibone as well? And I think as we are pinning, okay, perfect. I mean, like ladies, ne? So Kitswala Women's Month alone, because I mean, I think you guys are incredibly amazing. Like your stories just, I'm not going to be able to sleep. I'm those people who just, become Bugs Bunnies because I'm just so motivated and inspired by your story. So the first question, and I'll pose this question to everyone, to all of you. And my question is, so having heard everybody's story, what do you think? Like, how has it left you? What has touched you about each of the stories, or rather, what have you learned from, some of the stories that you've heard today? I'll start with Kedibone.
Thank you very much. It's been an honor, and listening to the ladies also has been very motivating. I mean, we've heard the importance of being strong. As a woman, you really have to work hard, but there's certain solicitations that come from our industry, the music industry, entertainment industry, and to hear other women who go through the same thing and still get into the industry to say, I want to make a difference for the next generation of women. And I mean, Tebogo's story is very, it touched my heart, and it speaks a lot of what we also go through on a daily basis, because being an entrepreneur is so glamorized in this day and age that a lot of people don't understand how much work goes into it and the challenges that we go through on a daily basis. Sometimes a person sees that you have a warehouse and they think that you've achieved, and it is an achievement, but the stress and the problems that come with that, and to listen to, for me, could resonate a lot with what Tebogo shared, because a lot of things, it's what we go through on a daily basis. The manufacturing industry is very grueling. The manufacturing industry is not, it's not easy. There's a reason why it contributes so much to the economy. There's a reason why manufacturing is so important in every country, but there's also a reason why you don't have a lot of people going into manufacturing, because it's not easy. So a lot of, I mean, even in the partnerships that Tebogo is talking about, it's people that are not just going to come and say, I want money. She didn't even mention money, which is what I was saying earlier, that sometimes entrepreneurs, we look at money and we think that's all you need, but there's the expertise, there's the understanding, there's the visionary, there's so many things that are important that were listed that for me, I've learned so much from this, and also understanding how even during the time that entertainment space is being challenged so much due to COVID, that there's people who are saying, I'm going to be the source of inspiration. If not me, then who's going to do it? So I think I'm very, very grateful for this platform, for the work you're doing, and thank you for inviting me and seeing my story as worthy to be shared, because from what I've heard, there's phenomenal women out there, and I hope we can continue doing this work, because women empowerment is not going to happen while we're sitting back and waiting for somebody to do it. And for us to stand in the forefront of whatever industry we're in is very important, and I'm very, very encouraged and very inspired. Thank you so much for having me. I really did have this was a good investment of my Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kiribo. Like, you're preaching to the converted. I'm just on that same tip. Like, if we don't do it, we need to be a band of sisters who are, at the forefront of the struggle and making it work. Itumeleng, your thoughts?
Yeah, I share the same sentiments. I think what ties all the stories together is that what do you call? Male-dominated spaces. So I think it's so admirable to have women like Tebogo and Kedibone who are able to just fight forward and fail forward no matter what. The stories are so touching, both of them, in all strengths: resilience, power, ability, willingness to learn. Like, it's just a lot of things that you can pick up from the stories, and for me to take away and practice on a daily basis, for me to become a better artist going forward and grow my business. And I mean, that's another thing. As an artist, I need to be a business. So that is why this was so befitting, because all the things that they've said are so relevant to me to apply. And I too am grateful for this opportunity today. I've certainly achieved something through Roche and Tabang. I really am grateful because they've also given me an opportunity to witness my video right here. So yeah, I'm really, really grateful. And I wish for more women like us and for this platform to be, taken from strength to strength going forward.
Yeah, we receive, Leron.
Amen.
from the MBB family, we receive or this platform must grow and grow and grow. Tebogo, your thoughts?
Yeah, for me, I think, I've said quite a mouthful. For me, if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you need to invite God in everything that you're doing. You must keep on praying, because each and every morning you will feel like you want to give up. So you must never give up, especially for women. Women, we are powerful beyond measure. If we can really understand what we want and never be shy about asking for what you really deserve, because we tend to limit ourselves. So I think as women, we need to just, be strong, be courageous, and never give up.
And never give up. I mean, you know what? So you've summed it up for me so succinctly, because I think it's easy for us to give up. And I mean, I just want to take the last round of comments for 30 seconds each. How did you not give up? How, as part of checking out, and I'll start with you, Tebogo, and then I'll do Itu, and then I'll finish with Kedibone. But just 30 seconds on, how did you manage to not give up? Because I would be like on the bathroom floor, so crying with bad head. How did you manage not to give up?
For me, every time I want to give up, I look back, from where I come from, and I'm like, I'm almost there. Why should I give up? I remember, at some point I lost everything. When I say everything, I mean everything. I only had myself and my handbag, but I had, in my mind, I knew I can do it. I knew I had the potential. So if you know you have a potential, you can lose everything. You can replace them. So just,
Itu?
be good.
For me, I think I mentioned earlier in the interview that being a creative is a very highly spiritual process. So, or a very spiritual gift rather. So I think in my times of wanting to give up, and I think I also mentioned that I wanted to give up at some point, but it's the type of gift that nudges at you, eats at you, and it's so everywhere, such that when you switch on the TV and you're watching a Beyonce, a Busiswa, a Zoe Mudicha doing what they do, your spirit does not rest, and it questions you, it faces you each time you have to go to a mirror. So because of that, I just couldn't, because the burden is too great. And I'll also, in support of what you're saying, Tebogo, when you know you have potential and when you understand that what you have is not necessarily what other people have, because I've literally had to, it's like you do you compare yourself with the peers in the industry and you look at who does what you want to do. And when I was looking, there weren't as many Bapedi artists out there who would want to go on with what I want to do, want to sell my brand identity and my brand message. And I thought to myself, if I don't do it, then who is going to do it? Because literally, if you are relaying, grounding, and there's someone who's missing. Perhaps I am that person that's going to decide to go AWOL. And then who's going to give the baton to the next generation? And that is what's keeping me to go forward. It's not easy. It's not easy because just like them, I've had to, put in my resources into this, but we have to do it. We don't have a choice. I don't have a choice. I have to do it. I have to proceed.
Yeah. Kedibone?
I mean, I think I'll conclude quickly and take from what the ladies have said. It's one thing I agree with. It's spiritual. There's a purpose. We're living our purpose. I had a wonderful job that was paying very well, and when I left that job, I did not know what was on the other side for me, but there was something inside of me that said I had to do it. And every day that I face challenges, I get awakened by that same spirit to say, keep on going, and I know if I were to give up and do something else, I will not be fulfilled. I will not be living my purpose. And again, if not me, then who? Who's going to change the industry for fellow women? If it's not me taking that difficult decision, creating an industrialist in the brick manufacturing space or the building material space for other women to come into the space. If I don't do it, I don't know who will, but it definitely is part of my purpose, I believe. And it is a spirit in me that I believe God placed in me. I never woke up and said, I want to make bricks. Never.
Yeah, it would be, surprising for anybody to wake up and say, guess what? I'm in the bake business. But I mean, just to quick, going through some of the chats, heartfelt condolences to you and more strength to carry on. Keep striving on, Tebogo. The truth about entrepreneurship is that it is hard work. And Kedibone here is, agreeing an entrepreneur has it up in place. And Tebogo is then, saying thank you for sharing your journey. It suddenly doesn't feel lonely. It does feel lonely, hey? It feels lonely whether you're incorporated at the top. It feels lonely when you're running your own business and you're a woman by yourself. It feels lonely when you're trying to create stuff and you're trying to be creative and write songs and you have a mental block, or even write books. Simpiwe says, wow, what a story to tell. Great Tebogo, and I'm so fortunate to have met you. Okay, I think I'm reading that for the second time. Talk about finding purpose within hurtful moments. You are an inspiration and you're a very phenomenal woman. Thank you for sharing your vulnerabilities. And I think I honor you ladies for sharing your vulnerabilities and being vulnerable with us, and for finding this space as a safe space for you to be able to dig deep with us. It's really great knowing that we are not alone in our small corners going through the most. Amazing ladies, thank you. Shama says, amazing ladies, thank you for showing us that it can be done and that it is possible. And then Nomti says she will get your numbers from, okay, oopsie. I wasn't supposed to read that. Okay, so I'm gonna go and just go through some of the lessons that we learned from today's session. And as we show the slide, I also just want to take this opportunity to thank the speakers. I think you women are incredibly amazing. I mean, I don't have enough adjectives to describe how incredibly amazing and fantastic and fabulous you are. But I think you're made from sterner stuff. Okay, so Kedibone's 4 lessons. Understand your business cycle. I mean, she spoke a lot about business cycle. Be patient with the growth of your business. And I think, as individuals, as entrepreneurs, we want to start a business and then start making millions at the same time. So we need to be very patient. Know your audience, know who you're talking to, know who your target market is. And the 4th one is work in teams. So working alone, you might be a sole trader, but you actually need to get a tribe that would support your hustle. And then we went to Itumeleng, and Itumeleng's 4 takeaways is, the first one is take the courage and lead the pack. I mean, I love that. I love the fact that, our young people these days are ready to lead the pack. And we need your type of young people who are ready to lead from the front. The second one is pay homage to your heritage. Love that. I mean, so I think I'm a bit biased. Third one is technology is the new norm. So digitize your craft, I think. The fourth one and the last one is know who you are and what you want to commit yourself to the craft. There's a big thing on top of my screen, so I can't quite see. And then we went to our Tebogo. Her 5 takeaways is properly research your industry. That is so important. I mean, I can't stress that enough. You know, it's lucrative to go into this industry, and then you plunk yourself in there. So proper research your industry. Second takeaway, never rely on one supplier. I mean, we know this. Never rely on one supplier, never rely on one client, never rely on. So you need to diversify and find your tribe. I guess it goes back there. Never rely on one client. Fourth one, don't be afraid to ask for help. Get mentorship. You know, I think it's so important. Ask for help, whether it is mentorship or not, but ask for help. And that is why today I then took the opportunity to say, Tebogo, what is your ask? So that if there are women on this platform who are able to assist, I mean, I wish I had money and financial background. I would be jumping in there because I know that, you're going to be printing money in the next couple of years. The last one is be thoroughly prepared when raising funding. That is so important. When you show up, Bo SIDA, Bo SIFA, Bo IDC, Bo NEF, looking for funding, if your affairs are not in order, you will not get the money. So it's really important for us to get that straight. But I want to take this opportunity. I mean, gosh, I'm so invigorated. I will not be able to sleep tonight. It's like I've just eaten a pack of chocolates. So please take this opportunity to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is My Biggest Blunders on YouTube. Tell your mother, your father, your everyone to subscribe. We have these sessions every other month, and we would love for you to join us. I want to take this opportunity as well to thank my bosses. I want to thank the speakers. I want to thank Kedibone, Itumeleng, and Tebogo. I want to thank the production team. I think they are amazing. So if you are looking for anybody to do your production, your videos, your pictures, anything digital, speak to Temba, speak to Tabang, I don't know, speak to Grace, speak to Moketi. I guess I should thank myself for enjoying myself. I want to thank our VIPs, the people that, came on board and were part of the delegates. We thank you for attending today's session. We thank you for engaging with us. And we are going to be signing out. Ka Hlabathedi. Yeah, Itumeleng Matabane. I love the song. I love the song. I've already downloaded it. I've bought it. I didn't download it for free. So I did buy it on iTunes. So, I don't do any pirating, but we are going to be, closing out with Hlabathedi. I want to wish all of you an incredible Sunday evening with your families, with your loved ones. I wish you a blessed week ahead. May we go out and conquer. And, in Maya Angelou's words, every time a woman stands up for herself, without knowing it and without claiming it, she stands up for other women. So I honor you, ladies, because by standing up and taking your place and taking your space in your corners, you have been standing up for all of us. Good night.
Thank you. We honor you too.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being such a great host. Thank you.
Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.